This is a recording for Volume 18 art cover of The Promised Neverland, and I will be discussing Pascal Demisu's illustration for the Volume 18 because it's going to be released next week. So let's begin. Basically, Volume 18 cover is stunning. It's beautiful. It's phenomenal. I have so many words I would like to share, but first of all, I would like to discuss elements in this artwork that are like somewhat foreshadowed for the series. First of all, I would like to point out how Emma is fading away in the background or in the foreground of the artwork because she's hugging Norman very intensely. Her eyes are closed. Her facial expressions tells the readers everything. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen to our best girl? And it really implies some foreshadowing elements in there as she grabs or holds onto Norman. Second point, Ray is holding onto Emma as if Ray is trying to save both Emma and Norman. Ray is trying to save Emma from disappearing. Emma is trying to resurrect Norman from his like tombstone. Some Discord commenters even said that Ray has wings where he can fly, where he is actually pulling the both of them out of the ground. But basically, yeah, it's very interesting because we cannot see Ray's back at the artwork. It's only centralized towards Emma and Norman, of course, because as you know, at this series, at this point in the series or in this arc, it's centralized around Norman being like a god. So what's interesting about Norman is that Norman has become a statue of stone, maybe because of his plans of demon annihilation. Sorry about that, I forgot to mention, spoiler alert, but yeah, this cover is gonna have many spoilers in it, so if you haven't read chapter 161 or haven't been updated to The Promised Neverland, then please skip this. Norman, it's as if he's being saved or resurrected when Emma hugged him, because the rock formations around Norman, it's as if it's shattering. There's like rock piles being outwardly thrown. It's as if he's gonna be breaking from his tombstone or shell or rock formation surrounding him, and it's as if he's like a rock pillar, like a statue of a god or a statue of a god in a rock pillar of some sort, and then the glass shattering around. It's as if it's being broken when Emma just hugged him. And Norman is flightless at this point because, as you can see, the way that Pascal Demisu drew Norman's hands is as if he wants to let go of everything, but Emma cannot let them go. Emma cannot let Norman go because maybe she feels some atonement that she feels towards Norman. In one way or another, I can really feel that Emma loves Norman just through the volume cover of this artwork. She cannot let him go. She loves him, and in turn Ray loves both of them as well. There's even this Twitter fan artwork from Twitter, of course, where Ray has wings and is pulling Emma and Norman out of the ground, and there's like this fan art where Ray is being pulled by Dawn, being pulled by Anna, being pulled by the rest of the gang until it get to Muhika and Songju. It's really wonderful. This is one magnificent art, and even the memes are just fabulous, showcasing that everyone is trying to save Norman from his tombstone or from being put into hell. I think that's what I initially thought about the volume art. Norman is being dragged down into hell. He's being stoned. He's becoming a statue, and it's only Emma who can save Norman at this point, because, as you know, Norman, even though he's redeemed as a god, or even though he's being told in the series over and over again because of his genius that he's a god, he's a genius, it's as if he's flightless at this point. He's a flightless angel. He's a flightless person. In volume 15, I remember that one scene where Norman is shown as a devil versus half angel, half devil. It really scared the heck out of me because I was frightened for Norman's life. For when I saw that panel in Yakusoku no Neverland, I think chapter 129, it really scared me. On one hand, it really draws out the vulnerability that these characters have for their best friend Norman, and that's the reason why I was stunned and satisfied and fascinated by the volume cover alone in Yakusoku no Neverland Volume 18. I was really stunned. I was bewildered. I don't have any words to say. Well, I have some words to say, but I cannot put the right words to explain the magnificence of this volume art alone. Norman has turned from being one of the protagonists or the main cast who is always supportive of Emma, who is always ready to support her, to becoming one of the masterminds against the demons, to so that he can annihilate them all. He became a killer, a murderer, and I think that's what Emma is trying to save Norman from. What's interesting about volume 18 is the title cover. The title for this volume is Never Be Alone. So as you know, Neverland, I think it's really going back to that word never. There are some chapters like around volume 2, I think, where the title was like Never Again, chapter 15 in the Viz Media translation, Never Again. And you know what, like if they emphasize the word never again and again here, then it's really a callback to the title Never Be Alone Again. Never Be Alone is the volume cover title for this volume, but the chapter that it's referencing, chapter 161, Never Be Alone, it's not so much of a strong contender of a strong chapter. I really love the chapters where Emma is trying to persuade Norman to return to them. I think that's chapter 153. I even made a Norman character analysis on chapter 153 of my on my channel. So if you have time, please check that out. Although it's a bit long because I was analyzing a lot on Norman because he's one of my favorite characters with a very good story development. Interesting to say, Never Be Alone, chapter 161 is the last chapter of volume 18, and it of course ends on a cliffhanger like any other volumes in this series. And it's interesting to know that it's a callback that on this chapter 161, that chapter is a callback to Norman slowly returning to Emma and her friend's side, which is adorable. I cannot believe that I'm still fascinated by this series, even though the Gracefield arc has already finished. I believe that the Gracefield arc is just the tip of the iceberg, and as you go through the series, I learned to appreciate it and love it more and more because of the political references and religious references that are incorporated in the series. So if you have time, please check this out. Don't miss it. March 4, 2020 will be the release of volume 18 in Japanese for the Promised Neverland. And yeah, don't miss it. And when it's out, let me know what you think of the volume. Thank you and have a great day. Hello again, this is a continuation of volume 18 art cover manga review for the Promised Neverland. I forgot to discuss a few points that I noticed when I was looking or appreciating the art cover for volume 18. I just want to point out that I already mentioned this before previously in the first part of this recording, but Emma saving or resurrecting Norman so that she can atone for her previous mistake when she left Norman bear the burden all alone when he got shipped out from Gracefield. I think Emma atoning for her mistake or sins is because so that Norman won't have to carry the burden or the weight of the world on his shoulder. And I think that's the reason why Norman here is stoned to death, as I may say, stoned, or it's as if he's breaking out from a shell because he's being freed from being stoned or from becoming a statue. And one more thing, I know Ray has been sidelined as a character, and even in this volume tells it all that Ray is implying, it's as if it's saying to the readers, his presence in the readers, like, hey, Emma, I'm helping out to save Norman. So like, I know he's been sidelined, but at the same time, I want to let you guys know that Ray's character has almost come to full circle by the end of this series. That's why I think many people are implying that even though they think that Ray's stories has downgraded, I think it's for the benefit of the series, so that we can just focus more on the side of Norman being resurrected or being saved by Emma, as depicted in this volume art cover, where Emma and Norman are in the center of the cover volume art. So another thing, I want to say this ties into Volume 4. Volume 18 and Volume 4 ties in together. And I think Volume 18 is coming full circle to Volume 4, because Volume 4, Emma, Ray, and Norman are holding hands together in a circle, lying down in grass. But then here, after their many adventures, they're just trying to become dependent on each other. Like, if Emma is not being pulled by Ray, who would pull her up? Because she's fading at this point. Ray is the only person who's not fading, and Norman as well. Emma's the person who's fading. I think is a foreshadowing element that's for the future of this series. I think what I want to point out is that all three characters, Ray, Emma, and Norman, are dependent on each other. Ray's quote-unquote wings or his flight are needed so that Norman doesn't get dragged onto hell, like what this volume art is depicting. Ray is able to pull Norman out even though Emma is fading away. If Ray cannot save Norman, at the very least, Emma can save Norman even if she is fading away or disappearing. And Ray can pull all three of them out, or so that they can fly away to the human world. And as I've said before in part 1 of this recording, that there's some Twitter artwork out there where Ray had wings, who was able to manage or pull them out of their disastrous situation. So that's the reason why I love Volume 18, because it has so much symbolism. And Emma's facial expressions is just phenomenal. It's just astounding how she's unable to let Norman go at this point, because she cannot let go of Norman, even though at that point in Gracefield she already think that she gave up on him, because Norman marched to his death so he can do everything for Emma so that the escape plan will work. And it did work, but at the cost of his morality, because after being experimented on Lambda, we know what happened. Norman became twisted and dark and like a serial killer or a demon serial killer. So, and I think that's one thing that Emma is trying to salvage from Norman, his humanity or his soul, so that Norman doesn't become more of a murderer than he already is. And I think Emma mentioned that in chapter 153. So again, let me know what you think about this volume art. Thank you very much and have a great day. Bye.